Someone you love has died. You already know what happens next. There are calls to make, a funeral home to contact, a ceremony to plan, a date to set, a place to bury them. Everything is already decided. Thousands of years of tradition tell you exactly what to do and exactly how to do it. You don't have to figure anything out. You just follow the steps that have always been there. But now imagine something different. Imagine you are the first person on Earth who ever had to answer this question. No tradition, no ceremony, no one who has done this before you, no words for what you are feeling because no one has felt it before either. Just you and a body and silence. And the most important question a human being has ever had to answer. What do we do now? This moment happened for the first time approximately 300,000 years ago. And what those first humans decided tells us more about what we actually are than almost anything else we have ever discovered. Here is something that almost no other animal on Earth does. When a member of a wolf pack dies, the pack moves on. When an elephant dies, the herd eventually continues. When a fish dies in a school, the others scatter and regroup and keep swimming. Life continues. The dead are left behind. This is how it works for almost every species that has ever existed on this planet. Because stopping doesn't help. A dead body cannot feed you, cannot protect you, cannot hunt with you. From a pure survival perspective, the most rational thing to do when someone in your group dies is to leave and keep moving. And yet, at some point in the deep past, a human being looked at a dead body and did not leave. They stayed. They did something. They made a decision that had never been made before in the entire history of life on Earth. They decided that death meant something, not just the end of a useful group member, not just one less hunter or gatherer. Something more than that. Something that deserved a response. Something that required action from the living. This is not instinct. No instinct tells you to bury the dead. No instinct tells you to place flowers on a body. No instinct tells you to speak words over someone who can no longer hear them. This was a decision. The first decision of its kind in history, and it changed everything that came after it. Let's go to the evidence. Because what archaeologists have found is not what most people expect. The first stop is Spain, a place called Sima de los Huesos, which translates as the Pit of Bones. Deep inside a cave system in the Atapuerca Mountains, researchers discovered something extraordinary. 28 individuals, all of the same species, our ancestors from approximately 430,000 years ago. All of their remains had been deliberately carried deep into this cave and dropped into a single pit. This was not an accident. This was not a collapse. This was not predators dragging bodies underground. These bodies were brought here intentionally, by other members of their group, through narrow cave passages in complete darkness, to a specific deep location that served no practical purpose. And at the bottom of this pit, alongside the bodies, researchers found a single object. A hand axe made from red quartzite, carefully crafted, perfectly functional. But it was placed with the dead, not left behind by accident, placed there. Why would you place a perfectly good tool with a body that will never use it again? The only answer that makes sense is that they believed it might be used again. Somewhere, by someone who had died but was not entirely gone. This is 430,000 years ago, before modern humans even existed. And already the idea of something beyond death was being expressed in stone. The second stop is Iraq, Shanidar Cave in the Zagros Mountains. 65,000 years ago, a Neanderthal was buried here, and around the body researchers found the pollen of at least 8 different plant species. All of them flowers, all of them placed deliberately, some of them with known medicinal properties. Think about what this means. A being that we long assumed was primitive, a being that we spent centuries treating as barely human, was picking flowers for its dead. The third stop is Israel, Qafzeh Cave, 100,000 years ago. A child was buried here, approximately 10 years old. In the child's arms were the antlers of a large deer, placed there deliberately, arranged carefully. Around the grave, archaeologists found shells stained with red ochre. Red ochre was the most commonly used symbolic material in the ancient world, associated across dozens of sites with blood, life, rebirth. This child was prepared, decorated, given objects for a journey, by parents who had no guarantee that any journey was happening, who had never seen evidence of what comes after death, who simply felt that their child deserved more than to be left on the ground. And they were right, because 100,000 years later we are still talking about that child. But here is the question that the burials raise. Why? Not how. We know how. They dug, they placed, they decorated. But why did they start? What was the feeling that drove the first burial? The answer begins with grief. Grief is not a human invention. Grief is a biological response built into every social species that forms strong bonds with others. Elephants return to the bones of their dead for years. They stand over them. They touch them with their trunks. They have been documented doing this to the remains of elephants they never knew in life, as if the bones themselves carry something that the living recognize. Chimpanzees carry dead infants for weeks, unable to put them down, unable to accept that the small body will never move again. Dolphins have been documented pushing dead calves to the surface of the water, trying to help them breathe, long after there is any possibility of life remaining. Grief is ancient. Grief is biological. Grief is not something humans invented. But ritual is. A 2021 study from Oxford University examining the cognitive requirements of burial rituals found that deliberate burial requires three specific mental abilities that appear to be unique to humans. The first is a clear understanding that death is permanent, not a temporary absence, not sleep, not a journey that will end tomorrow. The genuine understanding that this person is gone and will not return. The second is the ability to think about things that do not exist, to imagine a continuation beyond what you can see, to act in response to a future state that has never been observed and cannot be proven. The third is the belief that actions taken by the living have meaning for the dead, that placing flowers matters, that putting a tool in a grave matters, that the words spoken over a body reach somewhere they cannot be verified to reach. No other animal has been documented demonstrating all three of these simultaneously. And the moment the first human being demonstrated all three by deliberately burying someone they loved was the moment something new entered the world. Not just emotion, not just grief. The idea that there is something beyond what we can see, that life means more than survival, that people matter after they stop being useful. This is the birth of meaning, and it happened in a hole in the ground with a body and some flowers and a living person who refused to just walk away. The burial also served a function for the living. Anthropologists studying grief rituals across cultures have found that the act of burial creates something that benefits the group that remains. It says to every living member of the group, "When you die, we will do this for you too. Your life has value here. Your absence will be acknowledged. You will not simply disappear." This is the first social contract, not about hunting, not about food sharing, not about protection. The first agreement humans made with each other was about what would happen when they died. We will remember you. We will mark your passing. We will not pretend you were never here. Here's the part that should stop you completely. Every single thing you do at a funeral today is a direct continuation of what those first humans did. The flowers you bring, Shanidar Cave, 65,000 years ago. The objects placed with the body, Sima de los Huesos, 430,000 years ago. The red color that appears in funeral traditions across dozens of unconnected cultures around the world, Qafzeh Cave, red ochre, 100,000 years ago. The words spoken over someone who cannot hear them. Every burial site we have ever found. The belief that the person is somewhere, that they are not simply gone, that there is something after. We did not invent any of this. We inherited every single piece of it. The form has changed, the language has changed, the specific objects have changed, but the impulse has not changed once in 430,000 years of human history, not once. We still pick flowers for the dead. We still place meaningful objects nearby. We still speak words into the silence. We still refuse to believe that the people we love are simply and completely gone. The oldest thing about us is also the most human thing about us. So the body is in front of you. The first human who faced this moment had no tradition to follow, no ceremony to perform, no words that anyone had spoken before. And yet they did something. They carried the body somewhere meaningful. They placed something beside it. They stood there for a moment that meant something to them even though no one had told them it should. Because something inside them said, this person was more than a body. This life was more than its ending. This absence deserves more than silence. And every time you stand at a funeral, every time you bring flowers to a grave, every time you say someone's name after they are no longer there to hear it, you are doing the same thing across 430,000 years, across every culture, every language, every version of what it means to be human. The answer to what did ancient humans do with their dead is the same answer to what you will do. You will remember them. You will mark that they were here. You will refuse to let them simply disappear. That is not tradition. That is not religion. That is not culture. That is what we are. It is the oldest thing about us, and it has never changed.